Hold up.
No, there's no holding up. It's live.
Oh, are we live now?
That's what you did last week. You did the same thing. What with Terry or the week after? I don't know.
Eric, yeah. So
or with Eric, I thought there was a Terry's interview. You're like, hold up, and I'm like, I already clicked the button.
Yeah, that was with Eric Terry
okay.
last week.
There you go.
Yeah. So I guess we go on and we share all these things because we are live on the Facebooks right now.
We are, yeah.
So everybody who has clicked that they were going to be at the event is now notified that we is live, right?
That's right. That's how it works.
Well, all right. So it seems that we are very festive tonight.
Are we?
We've got a little we've got a theme.
Yeah.
I have a themed background. You never know. Lin-Manuel Miranda might come in behind me. Probably not.
Physically, really? Is he there? Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah. Hey Lynn, come up. No. No, but we're going to talk. Look, the fact that Hamilton's been on Disney Plus for about a month now.
Yeah.
And we haven't had well, in COVID years, it's been about 2 years.
Yeah, exactly.
But we haven't had a dedicated show to us going live and talking about Hamilton.
That's right.
So here it is. We are finally going to be talking the Hamilton.
The Hamilton is the Lafayette.
The Lafayette. I was going to try to do the Get Your Right Hand Man Back rap, but I don't think there's any possible way for me to do that.
Yeah, once you get a red coats redder with bloodstains, after that, it's just all.
Well, so we do have to get a little bit of a shout out to your wife.
Okay.
Because I shared something with you over the weekend.
You did.
It was a BuzzFeed quiz or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the Rewind. What's the name of the group? The Satisfied. And it started you off with the first sentence, and then you have to do word by word, every single word. I think I got 300 words into it. It's something like 900 words in the song.
Sure. And
you said you got pretty far, but you didn't get there. But
I mean, I missed a couple of like ands and buts and things like that. She was though. After my second one, I was like, you take it. And she blew it all the way rest of the way. Didn't miss a one. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So bravo to Blair.
I'm telling you. She knows her Hamilton.
She knows her what?
Hamilton.
Hamilton?
Hamilton.
Okay. Get your right-hand man back. Get your right-hand man back. All right. So, hey, look, Vance is joining us early. Vance.
Oh.
Okay. You ready to get a little Hamilton with us here? Because I think Vance went and saw it when it was in Orlando.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. So what cast was it when it was in Orlando? Do you know?
One of the traveling casts. I don't think there was.
Thank you. There's two of them.
I'm just saying. I don't think there was anybody truly notable to say it was that one. I could tell you who played Hamilton if I saw him, but I don't think I could tell you his name off the top of my head. I used to have the playbill somewhere around here in my office. I don't know where it is.
Well, why do you not have the playbill around with you anymore?
I didn't want it to get bent up and damaged, so I put it somewhere safe.
Okay, well. Anyway, so yeah, Blair says she listens to the soundtrack every chance she gets.
That's true.
That's true. You sound like James Madison over here.
That's right.
That's right. But I've had it on pretty much every day for the last month in the background when I'm at work. It's just usually on. So I think Disney Plus thinks that that's all I watch.
Probably so, yeah. Well, you have to have something on in the background to drown out all the noise in your house. This little feud about who's louder has been pretty fascinating to watch.
Well, you heard, didn't you? You heard how loud my wife is.
I did. You sent me a voice memo recorded off of your phone as proof, yeah.
Well, Amanda says it was unfair because I did just hit record on GarageBand, and she says, "Oh, but you have a professional microphone."
It just means sound quality came through.
Right. It just picks up my. So yeah. I'm not pulling that one. Yeah. So. Oh, look at that! We both drank at the same time. So we're not recording officially yet. We're still doing our pre-show show. Yep. Let's go ahead and I've actually got. We'll do this in the show too, but let's do the what's in your cup because mine's themed.
Oh, is it really?
It is.
Mine is just coffee. Nothing.
What kind?
It's a donut shop decaf K-Cup with some Starbucks caramel macchiato creamer in it.
That's nice. Speaking of coffee, I actually ordered some off of so Kyle Gilbert sent me this on he said this is a good coffee place in Texas, and they have K-Cups and everything. They have a bourbon flavored coffee. And he sent it to me and said, "Hey, this sounds like something you would like." Well, they don't have it in K-Cups. So I was looking on their website. It's called Bones Coffee Company.
I have heard of Bones, yeah.
Not a sponsor.
That's right.
Yet.
Yeah.
But I ordered some K-Cups of the Bones High Voltage, which is coffee that you would not be drinking. And I also ordered a Bones Irish Cream K-Cup.
I like their mugs too. They have really cool
they do.
And mugs and stuff like that. I wanted to get some around Christmas. They have one that's themed after the Christmas story called Oh Fudge. And it's like fudge flavored coffee.
That is awesome. I will say, before I tell you what's in my cup, I meant to send this to you, but I got really busy. Speaking of going back to an old podcast topic. By the way, Porter, I will tell you what kind of bourbon is what's in my cup. Carrie Loney, our resident pop fan, sent me a pop that Walmart just came out with, and it will be releasing sometime in November. No, Walmart has good. Oh no.
I'm shocked they haven't yet. But what is
if
this?
If it's in November, which means it's going to be Christmas themed.
Okay.
That's a Christmas tree. So
nice.
Yeah.
Oh look,
there
it's here.
Yeah. Clark with the Christmas tree in the station wagon. I have to get it.
Lots of sap.
Yeah. Lots of sap. But anyway, so Porter asked the question. I have to tell you what's in my cup tonight. So it is themed. We're talking Hamilton tonight. In my cup. Hello, Philip Risby, Doc Rigsby. Oh, okay. In my cup is Jefferson's bourbon.
Oh, nice. So Jefferson has your vote.
Well, yes, he does. How many of those are we gonna make tonight?
That's at least 4.
That's at least 4.
That's at least 4.
I mean, so here's going to be the over-under. Before we start recording, before we do the podcast, for all of you on our little live feed, I want to hear this. What are you laughing at?
We already did this once before. It's just so funny.
What?
we had a how many Hamilton references because we fit into one episode before.
No. This is going to be different.
Oh, it's going to be different.
How many times will I break out in the song in our Hamilton segment tonight?
Just so everybody knows, Dave asked me, he texted me, what should I put in my cup? And I said, whatever takes the edge off, but does not make you spontaneously break into Hamilton songs and turn this into like a long. It's a 3-hour presentation about all musicals, but mostly Hamilton. Because you would throw a Jean Valjean in there somewhere. And
no, I wouldn't go. No.
Because if you drank the wrong thing, you would.
Although I could, because there's in the Cabinet Battle #2, when they talk about trying to throw their support to the French, that's during the French Revolution, which is when Jean Valjean is placed.
That's right.
So therefore, and Doc says 12.
Yeah.
That's a good over-under.
I think that's probably safe, yeah.
Yeah. That's a good over-under. So technically, I think you're right. I could break out into song with Jean Valjean because the timelines do overlap.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said anything, y'all.
There you go, Doc. Raise a glass to freedom.
Wait, you didn't sing it. So there's one you missed already. So here's one. How many times will Dave miss an opportunity to sing?
That's a good question. I like Blair's challenge. Can we reference all 46 songs from the play tonight?
And string together a coherent episode? My dad guesses, maybe like Trump would say, 870,000 million and million and million.
I like Blair's challenge. I say we do it, but we don't mention it while we're on the show. Only the people that are here watching us can know what our goal is.
I have to pull up the song list now.
Brad Toon, definitely over on the 12 for the Golden Voice of the South.
That's right.
Brad, you listened to me on 2 podcasts. I think you would understand that.
Yeah,
I'd definitely take the over.
Well, I think for you, Dave, if you're going to have an episode like this where you're going to talk about both Alexander Hamilton and Aaron Burr, sir, I don't think you're going to throw away either your or my shot, or else we wouldn't tell the story of tonight. There's 4, all right?
No. This isn't the podcast. This is just the pre-show. So we can't.
Oh, so you're talking just in the hour show?
I'm talking about just in the hour show.
Dave, that's almost a reference a minute.
Do you doubt me? Do you doubt me?
No, I don't doubt you. See, the problem is that when it starts to get to the point where we have to stretch to make one fit, it starts to become groan worthy. I mean, we can give it a shot. I'm cool with it.
Okay, we're not
recording
yet. I just don't
want it to be like that's the only thing we're really trying to do.
Well, no. Come here. We're not recording yet, so just a second.
By the way, you missed your time to say Stuart and everybody.
No, I told Stuart and everybody. Tell everybody hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
So, all right, I love you. Good night. Good night. Mommy is probably going to go upstairs and let you watch this for a little bit, okay?
Okay.
But when Mommy says go to bed, okay?
She's downstairs in your bedroom. You found something wrong with it.
Okay, love you.
Love you.
All right. Hey, shut the door. Mommy doesn't want to hear my voice.
Keep out the devil. Hey Siri, shut the door.
Go shut the door, please. Love you. Okay.
Now
we're back. We're getting a bunch of hey Ellies. So yeah, see, when we get into the Schuyler sisters, I mean, we can just talk about the Schuyler sisters.
Sure you can.
And then Helpless, that's easy. But the ones
I want to see you get Farmer Refuted in there and make it like fit in a sentence.
Or Cabinet Battle number 2.
Well, even if we just mention it, I really like that part in Cabinet Battle number 2. Ding, right?
Yeah. Or what about Stay Alive reprise?
Yeah.
This is going to be tough. All right, we'll try it. All right, guys. So we're here. When do we want to do the Virgil asked a question? In between the 2 H's or kind of?
Yeah, let's do them in between the 2.
All right. So the other thing we're going to talk about tonight is Halloween Horror Nights. Sadly enough, those of you who know us know that we love Halloween Horror Nights, but it will not happen tonight or this year.
Yeah.
So we got to talk it. But all right. So Adam, you ready to go into the Unrelated at Birth Studios?
Let's do it.
And see how it goes. Follow the money and see where it goes. All right, here we go. In 3, stop laughing. Mute yourself if you're going to laugh during my intro. I can mute you too, can I?
Yeah, you can.
I can mute you. Okay. All right. Hey, you just muted me. All right. In 3, 2, 1. And welcome back into Unrelated Birth here. And another week, another great topic. We had a couple of great topics the last couple of weeks. Last week with Luke Bryan. I mean, Eric Terry coming in doing the Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? And by the way, we'll just bring him in. Adam, I have had people tell me this week that black was the correct color when you combine all the colors.
It's not true.
If are we talking art or are we talking science? Because in art, if you combine all colors, it is black.
I mean, if you go and take a crayon right now and you melted them down and poured them together, they would not make black. Black is the only color that makes black. It makes like a baby poop brown color.
It's not baby poop orange?
No. Brown in that case.
Okay. But anyway, I was right. You and Eric were wrong. So I am the one, the only, the golden voice of the South, the human jukebox, Dave Adams, coming at you from the top of the state of Alabama in the Unrelated at Birth Studios. And I brought my friend along, the wrong phenomenal brother from the House of Mouse, St. Cloud, Adam Russell. What's going on, man?
Oh, nothing. Just being wrong all the time, evidently.
Well, not all the time. I mean, you are correct. No, you are correct a lot of the time. But
yeah, it's true.
I mean, ask Vance Cope. Vance agrees with me. So
okay. Well, if Vance is right, then I mean, who's to argue with science? I mean,
are we talking science or are we talking art? That's the question.
If you combine red, blue, and green, or red, blue, and yellow, you're going to get like brownish color. I mean, we could try it sometime. We'll videotape you combining those just to see what happens.
Just a bunch of colors together.
Well, I mean, really, the primary ones are the only ones you need. Everything else is just a derivative of those. But
okay, that's fine.
Yeah,
we
let's
can
try
do
it.
We will do it one time.
This is right on topic. I love it.
We will do it
right in with our show.
Well, it fits in with a last week's show.
Oh, it's a callback. Got it.
It's a callback. There's something else, and I will bring this up to the Facebook Live people and the people on Podcast Land. So Eric brought a good question to me and a good question to Adam. Said, would you be willing to do a Facebook watch along? Or we could even do a podcast watch along where we watch Star Wars or Back to the Future or something together. And now keep in mind, Eric has never seen Star Wars and he says he will never enjoy Star Wars.
Yeah.
So do you want us to do like a Mystery Science Theater 3000 where we make Eric watch Star Wars?
Yeah, I do. I
think it would be great. He said that we need to find the best one to hook him.
Oh my gosh.
So I say Phantom Menace. Attack of the Clones?
No.
Solo?
No. I would make the argument of either Rogue One or Episode 4. I mean, you have to start with that. You can't start anywhere other than the main story. You know, where else? If you start, the problem with starting at the beginning, as in Episode 1 through 3, is that you get to Episode 4 and you're like, why doesn't Obi-Wan recognize R2? Why doesn't, Uncle Owen recognize 3PO? And you just start getting caught in all their continuity errors and you just don't enjoy it anymore.
So I see here that Vance just said Rogue One.
I don't disagree with that at all.
But I do, because there's no Force use in Rogue One.
Yeah, but you get exactly where Episode 4 is coming in. It's almost like the ultimate prequel. It supersedes the other three. Because you get enough from watching the trilogy of Luke and Leia. I mean, the original 3 movies really didn't bring anything to light that we didn't already know. It just showed things that they talked about.
Right. I mean, you get to see. Yeah.
I'd say
okay. So I say Episode 4, New Hope.
Okay, I'm good with either of those.
Yeah, I think you guys see Force use.
But if you talk about hooking somebody, though, I think like your more traditional war movie, which is what Rogue One was, that has probably a bigger chance of hooking somebody than something that goes a lot more in the science fiction direction, like the rest of them do. So
okay, so that's something that either that or we'll put a poll. Let's put a poll in the group and on the actual listing of our show.
Sounds good.
We'll do that. So, all right. So that's for later. Here's what we're doing this week. We're talking the 2 H's. Halloween Horror Nights. And of course, if you're following us on Facebook right now, Hamilton. We're not. Get your right-hand man back. we are not going to throw away our shot. We are definitely talking a lot of Hamilton tonight.
And 2, if you haven't seen Hamilton yet and you don't want to know anything about it,
you might want to
see it. You might want to hit pause, go see it, and then come back because we're going to pretty much talk the whole thing.
We are, and we're going to talk good. And as much as I say this is awesome, I will talk historical inaccuracies too, which there's a lot of them. It's fan fiction. They get a little bit of it right. But it's big fan fiction.
Well, we learned last week that inaccuracies were your specialty. So
no, I hung in there. The hard stuff I got a lot of.
It is true. That is very true.
I am going to be really good. If I ever see somebody, I'll go to a farmer and say, "Hey, farmer, I'm refuting you." So
didn't work. See, it didn't work.
Every now and then, farmers need to be refuted.
No, neither one of those is the actual title, so it didn't work. You're 0 for 2.
What? That doesn't count as farmer refuted?
No.
So, okay. All right. Fine, Aaron Burr, sir. So, first off, we got to get in here. What makes Hamilton such a great show to you? Why is, Broadway's been around for years. Why is this the talk of the town? Why is this something that will probably be around forever?
Well, I mean, hip hop musical is not a new genre. It's not like it created that genre, right? But it's the way that it took something, and I think the way that he goes about it with the rhyming structures and the complexity of the lyrics, and all of it makes sense. There's not a moment in the show, because a lot of musicals intersperse dialogue and stuff like that in with the music, and it just kind of loses you sometimes. This one is so fast paced, and it doesn't stop, yet you can follow the coherent story just through the use of song. And I think it's a little bit revolutionary in that regard. Yeah. But just the words, I mean, it's the same thing with like the songs that Lin-Manuel Miranda's written for Mary Poppins and for Moana and some things like that. Just the way the words are put together just make you have fun listening to it.
Yeah, it does. And what I like about it too is if you go and listen to, let's just use Daveed Diggs as an example. When he does two parts, as you know, he does Thomas Jefferson and he does Lafayette. Let's just take his Lafayette character and kind of look at it in a microscope without really knowing much about Lafayette. The first time we meet him, he has trouble talking in the English language. How you say, anarchy, anarchy. He doesn't really, the way he raps is slow. The way he talks is slow. He wants to be part of the crowd, but he doesn't really know how to say it. But then when he goes into Right Hand Man and then all of the other stuff, I think where they bring him in, it's Guns and Ships. Mm-hmm. When he goes into that, he goes into this dialogue where you can't even rap along with it. It's impossible. Yeah. It just shows how Lafayette has grown up with the revolution and how he's become more comfortable around these people. Mm-hmm. And that's just a small part of the show that if you're not really paying attention to it, you'd miss it. Yeah. It's just, it takes 4 or 5 times watching it to fully understand some of these things.
Yeah. And it's too how each character, watching all the interviews that have come after it, I've heard Lin-Manuel talk about like how Hamilton's always ahead of the beat because he was always ready to go, but Burr is more behind the beat, a little bit slower pace on his words because he was willing to wait for it. Washington was very measured and on the beat, and even the way that he wrote the songs for every character means something about the person that they were. And to your point, the person who goes and sees it in a theater or watches it on Disney Plus one time and thinks, oh, that was good and moves on, probably isn't going to catch that. But when you start to go into that level of like the Easter egg stuff you're talking about and, some of those extra layers, it just shows how much thought they put into it.
Yeah. And what's amazing is Lin-Manuel Miranda got all of this from reading Chernow's biography of Hamilton. How he read that book, I don't know. I listened to it, and it's fascinating.
Yeah.
But it was 35 and a half hours on Audible.
Yeah.
Imagine how long it would take to read it.
Yeah. Well, if you're inspired, and you can actually use it as source material for what you do for a living, it's probably a little bit different. But
well, Chernow was actually a historical fact checker writing the thing. So he came and helped him, and we'll get into this, how he didn't fact check a lot. But
well, there's only so much you can do. Like he said in some of this post-interview stuff that he's done, there's only so much you can do in 2.5 hours. And with a limited cast, you can't cast every person that had an interaction.
Yeah.
But and I don't even, at the time, and it's interesting to think back on this aspect of it is that him casting all minorities for all of the major founding fathers and revolutionary heroes and that type of thing was pretty revolutionary itself at the time. And that 5 years later, after the very first show they've done of it, isn't even really that revolutionary anymore. But it opened the door, and it's not, well, I say it's not revolutionary anymore. It's common practice now in a lot of places. Like Disney does it now, where I've seen a Frozen show in California that had African-American woman playing Elsa.
Right.
And at first it's a little bit jarring because you see the young version and then you see the older version, and it takes you a second, but really Hamilton opened it up to where you don't even really think about it anymore in theater. It's like the character is the songs and the words and the presentation, not necessarily how the person looks.
Right.
In some cases like that,
Yeah. Ha. Brad Toon says about the Chair Now novel and 0 pictures.
There are pictures, they're just all consolidated into a section in the middle.
Right, exactly. And Blair says she got through the first chapter and put it back on the shelf.
She did.
I get it.
That's Audible. The one treatise she did not read.
Audible is the greatest thing. I'm actually listening to the Washington Chair Now book right now, and it's 45 hours.
Nice.
Haven't even made it to the
longer
revolution.
Life. Yeah, longer life. He didn't die in a duel.
Yeah, so. Exactly. He didn't learn about the 10 dual commandments at all for Washington.
Well, and you talk about what sets it apart, and you and I appreciate it for the language and the structure and the music and how it's presented and the thought that goes into it. We can go into some of those Easter eggs and little things here in a second, but I don't know if you've watched it yet, but the History Has Its Eyes on You Hamilton interview on Disney Plus that they did with
I haven't watched it.
Cast. Robin Roberts interviews the original cast, and one of the things that Aaron Burr said was that to see
Leslie Odom Jr.
to see the four of them, Hamilton, Lawrence, Lafayette, and Mulligan, standing there talking about brotherhood and being through this together and all of that, seeing people of color singing that song meant something to him. And so there are people that walk away with something from Hamilton that you and I can never understand and that we'll never get from it. And so I think that there's so many layers and it resonates with everybody differently. It's just like it even, ends with the little Christopher Nolan, Inception kind of piece at the end, where, at the end of Inception, he spins the top and everybody says, oh, is it going to wobble or not? Is it going to fall or not?
It was wobbling, by the way.
But it stood back up. See, you could argue about that for hours, right?
It was wobbling.
But then you look at Hamilton and all of that show just takes you on this whirlwind of somebody's life, and then it ends with the gasp. And you walk out of there talking about what was the gasp about, And even in that, there was something that leaves people talking about the show in a completely different way than just the race, aspect of it or the music. Even a piece of the story is something that people are still talking about, 4 or 5 years later.
Yep. So pause that for a second. Your dad makes a great point here. When it comes to the history of our country, I view it like youth of this country buying a Disney Marathon medal on eBay. Hamilton, if they take this as gospel, you're missing Hamilton.
Yeah.
You're missing the story of Hamilton.
Yeah.
Just like if you bought a Disney Marathon medal on eBay, you might have the medal to show that you did it, but you didn't do it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, all right. So let's get into it. You brought up the gasp. We'll start at the end and we'll work our way. Okay. For those that don't know, yes, the story is about Hamilton, but most would argue that the story is really about Eliza Hamilton because she stays alive 50 years longer. Who tells Hamilton's story? Who lives, who dies, who tells your story? The entire last half of Hamilton, the entire second act, is more about Eliza than it is Hamilton.
Yeah.
In my mind. So go ahead.
No. I was just going to say, someone posted a theory, and you and I have had conversations about this in the past.
This is where we're going.
And I think the one piece of it is a step too far, but I think in general, the theory fits with what we've talked before. And what I've talked with Blair too, is that, the name of the musical is Hamilton. And at the very end, who lives, who dies, who tells your story, Hamilton / Lin-Manuel Miranda takes her by the hand where she's presumably making it to heaven and seeing him again. They walk a little circle on the stage, and then he lets her go to the front by herself in the spotlight. And then that's when she gasps. And
but he's not. So, okay.
Well, hang on. Someone posted on Twitter is that he's not really Hamilton anymore. He's really Lin-Manuel Miranda leading her to the front. And I think that's the step too far. And Lin-Manuel Miranda said, no, that's not it. But in either case, I think that the subtle thing that he did throughout that whole thing is, yes, the Alexander Hamilton is the main character of the play as a whole. He's the one who has most of the lines and the songs, etc. But what he's also done at the same time was he snuck in Eliza Hamilton's arc from the time right before she meets Hamilton, all the way through to the end of her life, right at the end. And whether it's Hamilton or Lin-Manuel leading her to the front, she was the one, it's called Hamilton and not Alexander Hamilton because it's actually about the both of them.
Yeah.
And that gasp is like, wow, someone really did tell my story too. And if it wasn't for that, no one probably would have, I
don't think that it's, yes, it's that. But then I think that it is Lin-Manuel or whoever is playing Hamilton at the point, leading her to the front. And when, I don't know if you have, but I don't know if you've ever had a spotlight shown on top of you.
Mm-hmm.
You think that you're blind, but you really can see out behind the spotlight because really the spotlight's not on you. It's a little bit behind you.
Mm-hmm.
And so it backlights everything and you can see in front of you. That gasp is her seeing all these people here to see his story.
And her story.
Right. And her story. So I truly do think that is Lin-Manuel or whoever's playing that part leading her to the front to say, look, people know your story now.
Mm-hmm.
You did not die in vain.
Yeah.
The other thing that I get from this, and this is such a small little Easter egg, George Washington wanted to stay alive long enough to end slavery. There's talk of Hamilton wanting to end slavery, but he couldn't because he died in the duel. And we'll get into that about historical inaccuracies and stuff. But if you watch the way that the camera takes it, and when you watch, I'm trying to think what his name is.
Christopher Jackson.
If you watch Christopher Jackson, when it talks about slavery, you see him go, oh, and then when he says, I didn't live long enough to do anything, he goes, oh.
Yeah. And he said in an interview that that's exactly how he wanted to play that moment. Yeah.
That is George Washington wanting to get rid of slavery because he knows it's a blight on American history, but he didn't live long enough to do it.
Yep. And he did, honestly, she spoke out about it more vehemently than he did. But most of his efforts, I mean, you can look back on it, however, and your political stance is probably going to, color the lens through which you look at this. But I mean, he was honestly, most of his time was spent from the French and Indian War through the American Revolution on a battlefield. And then he tried to retire, got called back in to start this nation anew. And you could say that was his opportunity to do that. And he didn't, and I think that's what Christopher Jackson's trying to portray there is that we started this country and man, we just missed that one thing, and it's easy to see that now. And it probably wasn't as easy to see that then, but I think at the same time, I don't want to get too political, but at the same time to see people like that 1691
1619.
And people are saying that, the founding of America is something that should be discarded and not taught as it has been and celebrated because they didn't get rid of slavery. That's like any of us having somebody take a microscope 70 years from now and inspecting our lives and wondering why we missed all the opportunities that we could have had to do great things, and it shouldn't be discarded. You should take that as a point and learn from that when you create something, make sure you create it with all the viewpoints included. And we all can learn from that and do that. But it doesn't mean that it should be discarded and not celebrated at the same time,
Yeah.
But I think those subtle things like that in the show make it to where it teaches you those lessons from history through those small little things they added in without honestly being preachy. Like that immigrants, we get the job done. It's a fun little line and everybody claps and it has meaning to it. But it's not like half the show is just stressing that over and over and beating you over the head with it. No matter what you walk into that show with, you're going to enjoy it and you're going to walk out with something at the same time.
Yeah. And that's what I love about it. It is a show. Yeah. And you say the same thing. It is a show that could be divisive.
Mm-hmm.
It has like we said earlier, all of the major players, everybody in the show, except for some of the minor cast, the chorus, is minorities.
And the king, the villain.
Yeah. Well, even
which Philippa, is hilarious. He's my favorite character.
Even Philippa Sousa, she's Asian.
Mm-hmm.
Is it Philippa or
Philippa Sue?
Philippa Sue. Okay, she's Asian. You could. I'm shocked because she doesn't look it. But they're all minorities, and that could be divisive. But to use a word that we're not supposed to use anymore, when you close your eyes and you listen to the words, when you watch everything, it's colorblind. It's music. It's Broadway. It's awesome. Mm-hmm. And you don't have to look to see what the color of the person on the stage is.
Yeah. Well, and that's the interesting part of it is I think you have to also balance that. The hard conversation to have there, Dave, is you have to balance that. Well, I'm just saying you have to balance that against the fact that, they're saying like the guy who voiced Apu on The Simpsons should not be voiced by anybody other than a person of that race. And you're hearing a lot of that now. And so it's the balancing act that we have to find with everything in a country like this where you have free speech is, can you say it's okay for someone of color to play someone who's not, but it's not okay the other way? There has to be a balance, and there has to be an understanding that sometimes as an artist, that's the best way to get a message across.
Yep,
that's good. And it doesn't mean one's right and the other's wrong. It just means that when you sit down to do a project, sometimes the casting decision is done in a way where it actually has meaning, Yeah. And I think that we have to all keep that in mind, and we shouldn't just say that it has to be strictly along the lines of however the character's written or whatever nationality they should be. If there's somebody out there that could really do justice to it, just like we would in the workplace, they're the most qualified person for it, they should play the role. I mean, I don't have a problem with that.
I am, saying everything we're saying. And if you remember one of the very first shows we talked about Disney casting The Little Mermaid, mm-hmm. I need to apologize because I pitched a big fit of who they cast. And that should have never been in my line of sight. If she can sing the part, she can sing the part.
Well, it's like you're already in a situation like The Little Mermaid. It's already an imaginary character. It's a mermaid,
right?
We've already stepped into the imaginary. Why would we apply something logical and realistic to the imaginary? But it's a hard thing that we all have to sort through. And I'll tell you, that's one of the things. And this is the. Are you ready to talk historical inaccuracies and get into the real history behind it?
Do you want to do that, or you want to do Easter eggs first?
Let's do Easter eggs first, and then I'll bring up my point. It's kind of a segue into that.
Okay. So the first one, let's talk. Well, okay. We're talking mostly just the movie. Mm-hmm. Hamilton itself was filmed over the course of 3 days.
Yep.
And it's a combination of filming 2 live performances and filming close-ups with Steadicams and crane shots without an audience. The one thing, and if you watch it close enough, they watch Angelica. Some of the shots, her dress has flowers. Mm-hmm. Some of the shots, the flowers are gone. So you definitely can see that it was definitely filmed on 2 different days. Yep. So the continuity was not there. Here's another one. They picked around 12 musical numbers to film 3 to 4 times in order to get as many close-ups as possible. So around 33 musical numbers were simply from filming the live performances.
That's pretty good.
That's awesome.
That's basically 2 takes to get all the footage you need,
Yep. King George, Jonathan Groff, is only on stage for 9 minutes. He says the role helped him figure out how to do a lot with a little.
I mean, that's why he did so good at Lost in the Woods and Frozen too.
Oh, dude, that's the best part of this movie.
Yeah, but it's funny because he wasn't even the one playing it when they recorded it too. The guy who was playing it stepped aside and let him play.
Yeah. To me, the best part of King George, his songs are great, but watching the musical, the best part of King George is after he sings the John Adams, mm-hmm. He goes and sits back. And just dances along and sings.
Well, and it's even that, when he goes to the side and his little helper brings out the chair, for him to sit in.
Right.
That they could have just sat it there and he would have sat down and danced and it would have been funny. But instead they come 6 feet too far to the right, and he's like, come over here, like pointing, you know, and they turn even that into a funny little moment. It's like all those little things are great.
I'm trying to think. I'm not going to do all of these because some of them are just a little weird. Okay, here you go. I can't go ahead. What?
No, go ahead. I'll say it after this one.
I can't say his name. The guy that played Hercules Mulligan. If you can pronounce his name, great. I can't.
I can't.
He was originally called in to do George Washington. Could you imagine that guy being Washington over Christopher Jackson?
No, because Christopher Jackson's height is what pulls him off as George Washington.
Yep.
I mean, his pure just size on the stage compared to everybody, because that's how George Washington was.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
Exactly.
But I'll say real quick, one interesting little tidbit, and it may be in your list, I don't know, but Satisfied and Helpless are just basically the same events, just from one's from Eliza's perspective and one's from Angelica's perspective. And when the way they blocked it is when they start Helpless, when Alexander first walks on the stage, Angelica and Eliza are both in his line of sight.
Mm-hmm.
And so he could be making eye contact with either one of them. But when they blocked and did rewind and they reset the scene, Eliza's not there, and Angelica is the one in the spotlight directly in his line of sight. So from one perspective, she thought, oh, he's making eye contact with me. From Angelica's perspective, she was like, oh, no, he was making eye contact with me. And they both launch into the same basic, song about him. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Well, here on the same topic, before coming up with Satisfied, Lin-Manuel Miranda wasn't even sure Angelica would even be a character in Hamilton.
Oh, wow.
He didn't think he would have time to get into that.
He had plenty of time to get into that. I mean, it came across really well. Yeah.
I don't know how this happened, but here's your Disney tie-in. Ratatouille helped the creative team come up with the idea of time stopping and going in Angelica's mind and learning her feelings about Eliza and Hamilton's relationship.
Ratatouille did?
Yeah. I don't know how that worked, but even more, even though the actress is rapping and performing in Helpless backward during Satisfied, she said she found the final toast the most challenging part of the number. I don't see how that is possible.
Yeah, given how I saw somewhere that's the fastest words per second in the show.
No. No, it's
other
not.
than Lafayette, she's the second.
I'm about to get in
first, but yeah,
I'm about to get into it. During Lafayette's fastest rapping, Guns and Ship, David Diggs averages around 6.3 words a second. What is that?
I have no idea.
Okay. And it is the fastest rap or fastest paced lyrics in musical theater history.
Wow.
Yep. 6.3 words a second.
That's crazy.
All right. Here is the Easter egg that I want to get into.
Okay.
And it's a character, and we're going to spend some time on this one. It's a character that not a lot of people get. And you're laughing, so I think you know who I'm talking about. It's not a human.
Okay.
A lady named Ariana DeBose. She was an understudy for one of the Schuyler sisters. But you'll notice, anytime they talk about a gun, it is her going across the stage. So her character is called the Bullet.
Really?
She is the kiss of death. Notice who Philip is talking to right before he gets into his duel. She is a co-ed at King's College.
Yeah. Well, she's also the one that whispers into the ear of the king too.
Right.
She has multiple little parts like that. Yeah.
But she is the kiss of death. And if you notice too, when it talks, he's sitting there writing, and a bullet goes right past his head.
Yeah, that's right. And Stay Alive. Yeah.
That's her.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Vance, she plays Hamilton's mom as well. So she is a death character.
Yeah. Wow.
Hey, Brad. So I want to pause for a second here and in my Easter eggs. Brad Toon is one of our listeners here. He's in our Facebook chat right here. Brad, you're a Canadian. I want to know, is this show as well received and as well loved in Canada or somewhere anywhere other than America, the United States? Because this is a United States history. And
Sure.
and you know, I'm shocked that this is actually a show that's over in England.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because England's the bad guy. Lin-Manuel Miranda actually says he was watching it sitting next to Harry.
Nice.
And he said, when King George comes on the stage, I'm sitting next to the great, great, great grandson of the guy I'm making fun of.
That's incredible.
So how is this even a thing?
Yeah. Yeah.
So here we go. Real quick, your dad, God bless him, he gives us all these random facts. I love it. Miranda bought Chernow's Alexander Hamilton biography at the airport on a whim. Big things with small beginnings. In 2007, in an airport on his first vacation after wrapping up In the Heights, Miranda stumbled upon Chernow's biography and bought it on a whim, needing something to read during his travels to Mexico. If he didn't have that, we wouldn't have Hamilton.
That's right. That's amazing. Well, you know, and even if this isn't big in Canada, I'm sure they'll make one for Trudeau eventually, right?
Yeah, I mean, right?
Yeah.
Philippa Sue would stay completely in character when Eliza sits next to Philip while teaching him piano. And Andrew Chappelle, who understudied for Philip for the guy, said they would talk about Philip being nervous to perform the poem for Hamilton while she's sitting there next to him. That's kind of funny. That's cool. That's hilarious. See what else is on here that's good here. The letter Eliza burns during Burn are actually cursive transcripts of the real letters between Eliza and Alexander.
Interesting. That's pretty cool.
That's crazy that is the one, like how they do that so historically accurate.
Yeah. That's cool.
That is cool. Here you go. One of the greatest lines of the show. David originally improvised Jefferson's France line during What Did I Miss? And they decided to keep it.
Nice. Well, I like that one too, because he says that to Madison, but then when they're in cabinet battle number 2, he turns to Madison and says, "Who helped us?" And he goes, "France." Kind of the same kind of line traded back and forth, you know?
Yeah. All right. There's your little Easter eggs that I like. It's just pretty cool. Pippa and Eliza beatboxing is the funniest thing that Vance Coach says he's saying.
Her mouth like that and everything.
Yeah. I'm a poet. I'm 9 years old. I didn't know it. Yeah. Your dad says it took Lin-Manuel Miranda 2 years to write the first 2 songs.
Yeah. It's amazing how long. And he was doing performances of just the first song before it was even a thing, you know?
Yeah.
And it took him, I think in that some interview I saw, I don't think it was that thing with Robin Roberts. I think it was a separate video where he said that it took him a year to write the last song. And that he said that the only trick he hadn't pulled yet, he'd done creative lyrics and fast tempo and all this different stuff, but he hadn't done silence yet. And the way that he thought of that was his son had just been born, and he woke up and his son is asleep on his chest and his wife is asleep and the dog's asleep at the foot of the bed. And he thought, wow, it's just so quiet. He thought, quiet's the one thing I haven't done while anybody's been speaking or singing yet. And so that's when he decided to cut the music and have Hamilton monologue at the end of that. And he ended up doing a great job, man, because that's one of the best parts by far of the show.
Yeah.
Just everything that went into it's fascinating. So
yeah, you said you had one thing that you were going to talk about after all.
Yeah, well, it kind of transitions into like not historical inaccuracy per se, but just like that. It's one more thing about the impact that this show has. And I thought about a lot of the stuff that they were talking about on the Robin Roberts interview that's on Disney Plus, just about the impact that this had. And, you know, what I believe the question that they asked was one of the questions that they asked the actors, because they had normal, you know, viewers come on and ask questions, was right now in America with everything going on, who should be in the room where it happens and what should they be talking about? And
right now,
yeah, because this was pretty recent. And And I think it was Leslie Odom said that everybody should be in the room where it happens. And then what's the guy's name that plays Jefferson? David
Diggs
said that one of the things about the room where it happens in the show is that the doors were closed. And if the doors were closed, no one knows what you're talking about or what you're trading away. So the doors should be open and everybody should be in that room. And I think that means a lot. And what it kind of reminded me of, their conversation, was a book that I just read by Malcolm Gladwell, and it's called Talking to Strangers. And the premise of the book on its face doesn't seem like it would be as good as it was, but it's basically about the biases we have in our mind that make us see strangers differently than we should, and misgauge or misinterpret their intentions or how they feel about things and all of that. And one of the stories that they told was about, and I'll make it brief, but it was about Kansas City. And one of the things that came out of Kansas City was the way that they would do their police department is they would send people into the 10 or 15% of all the city streets and city blocks where all the crime happened. And they would let the police focus their efforts there, because where people have the most crime, they're the most willing to receive that help. Anywhere else in the city, when you're pulling people over and pulling them over for a minor traffic infraction, but using the conversation with them to discover other things, you're finding the needle in the haystack. You're finding the guy with a warrant or a drug dealer or somebody with a gun just because of a broken taillight. And so you should do that, but you should mostly do that in the areas where there's already the most crime, because that's where the needles in the haystack are really going to be. You make the haystack smaller. And one of the things that I think connects is if you look at all the conversations that have come out of everybody talking about Hamilton, is the historical inaccuracies, the things that he doesn't talk about, the things that he didn't address. But I don't think that a musical has to address those things. Right. I think we have to address those things. And I just want to put this out there. What we've done wrong as a society is we've trained all of our police officers. Pull over anybody you think is, even if a red flag goes up and it's not they broke the law, pull them over, search their car in peaceful neighborhoods where there's not a lot of crime. And people who we could never understand, because we don't come from that background. We don't live in those neighborhoods. They feel harassed. And I think one of the things that you have to balance with Hamilton is it gives people who feel harassed an outlet to let their voices be heard and put people that they agree with, or that they, I can't think of the word, that they see themselves in. That puts them on stage. It gives them a voice. But we can't expect something like that to also give that voice and speak to all of the issues that those people are facing. You know what I mean?
That's true.
Because one of the biggest historical inaccuracies that's come out of all of this is the slavery topic, right? And I won't go into much. We'll talk it in a second, but you can't expect Hamilton to do everything. It can't be everything for everybody. Just like the police solution that worked really well in Kansas City when applied one way shouldn't be applied everywhere. You can't expect a musical that's supposed to give minorities a voice of the founding of our country and the problems that still exist. It can't speak to everything, but it can start the conversation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So historical inaccuracies aside, I think that, there still has to be, we all have to walk away with something from it, not expect it to be everything that everyone would want it to be.
Yeah, I understand.
So, please.
All right. So we have an answer to my question. Brad Toon. Definitely. Canada loves Hamilton. Canada was treated by England better because they didn't want a second revolution. His wife and him went to New York and saw it twice. Oh, I hate you. The first time with the original cast minus Lin-Manuel. Toronto also had a long run of the tour booked before COVID. Adam, don't even get him started on Trudeau. He is currently being investigated for his third ethics violation and awarded a $90 million government contract to a charity his family members received money from.
Yeah.
So there you go. Well,
that's ultimately my beef with Trudeau is he lives in a glass house and he throws too many stones, but that's a topic for another day.
So one more little Easter egg in Wait For It.
Yeah.
He, what's his name? Leslie Odom Jr. talks about, the line says, "My grandfather was a fire and brimstone preacher."
Yeah.
But I learned about the things that the homilies and hymns couldn't teach you. Teach you. Does that count as singing?
Technically, yeah. So
okay, I've only done it once.
Well, let's
Yeah, I'm trying to be nice and keep it the golden voice of the singing South.
You're willing to wait for it.
I'm willing to wait for it a little bit. Yeah. But I think I've said this before on the show. I don't know. I know I've told you. When he says my grandfather was a fire and brimstone preacher, who is his grandfather?
I don't know.
Jonathan Edwards. Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God.
Yeah.
That is Aaron Burr's grandfather. So that will tell you how Aaron Burr was raised as opposed to how Hamilton was raised.
Oh, sure. Completely different.
Aaron Burr was raised in a very Protestant-minded home. Brad Toon, only 11 to go. A very Protestant-minded home, straight-laced. Everything has a place, and is a place for everything. Basically, the way I was raised, because that's Presbyterianism. Jonathan Edwards is a very well-known Presbyterian preacher from the 1700s, 1600s, maybe. I don't know, but
the something hundreds.
Very, very, very well-known. In fact, even in secular schools, Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God is in the English books. So, and then you have, sorry, Adam, I have to say a word, but
Oh, no.
You have to.
Do you have to?
Yes, you have to. I'm not throwing away my shot. You have a bastard child. You have a bastard child who didn't have a father growing up, didn't have a father figure. His mother died in a very early age. His island paid for him to go to New York, went to King's College, didn't really know anything. So, and your dad makes a good little point here of an Easter egg. Watch how the actors move on the stage. Because of the way they were raised, Burr walks in straight lines. Even when he dances in Room Where It Happens, he's dancing in a straight line, up and down, vertical horizons, vertical, horizontal, all of this. Anytime Manuel walks, Hamilton walks, it's an arc. It is circular. It is...
And a little more frenetic in its pace, too.
Right. It is basically how it's... I'm not saying this. I'm not saying you and I are Burr and Hamilton, but it's how you and I are different. I'm a broadcast mind. I'm a arts and science person. So I think kind of loosey-goosey, flowy out of the box. You're an engineer, so you think in the way graphs are. Just up and down, straightforward, left and right. The exact same way the quad is made at the university at Alabama. Because if you look at the quad on a drone shot, one side is blank, one tree, and the sidewalks are grid-like. But then you go to the other side, it's trees everywhere. The sidewalks are in diagonal. They cross at weird angles. It's exactly...
Left brain, right brain. Yeah.
It's left brain, right brain.
The sides of the quad also line up with the buildings. The engineering school is on the side that's open. The business and communication and English schools are on the one where they crisscross. So,
right, exactly. My friend Carly makes a good point here. Hamilton is organic. Burr is prim and proper.
It's true.
I would say that is where you and I interact too. I'm kind of whatever, and you're the prim and proper business guy. You during work hours, it's hard to get a hold of you.
Because it's work hours.
Well, I know, but I'm sitting here working and. Ooh, squirrel,
It's true. Yep.
So let's get into the historical accuracies and inaccuracies here.
Sure.
I'm going to there's a lot of these here. First one here. One of my favorite parts here is when Charles Lee is making fun of Washington. I'm a general. Whee!
Yeah.
In fact, that's kind of the point I'm in the Washington biography. And that's when I'm hearing in the back of my head.
Oh, yeah.
It's talking about Charles Lee. But to me, it hurts a little bit here when Lauren steps up and say, all right, I'll take the shot. I'll duel him. So Charles Lee in the musical chooses Aaron Burr. Well, Burr was in history. Burr was not Charles Lee's second. Mm-hmm. In the Lee Lawrence duel, Hamilton was Lawrence second.
Yeah.
Although I will say it makes for one of the coolest lines in the musical too. You know, they're sitting, Hamilton and Burr talking as seconds, and then they get into argument, and Burr says, "I guess we're doing this."
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Real quick, your dad says, "I would say you and Adam are alike on construction site. Me in flip flops that are comfortable, and Adam with steel toe shoes that made for the job." I mean, can't lie. Fine.
Well, I mean, you see that. Sorry, go ahead.
Good. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
You see that a lot too, because the three that confronted Hamilton about the speculation accusations, it wasn't Burr, Jefferson, and Madison either. You know, you had to make do with the cast that you had. And a lot of the actual event might have happened, but it didn't pan out the way that it showed completely. You know,
you're stealing my thunder.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's down here.
Well, those were connected.
Yeah. I'm bringing the thunder. Oh, he even brings the thunder. Oh, that's two. That's two. But it was more than just Jefferson, Burr, and Madison. But those three were involved, but it was more than that.
Yeah, yeah.
So there you go. So this is one that I was shocked to find. Washington did not send Hamilton home after their quarrel. Hamilton actually quit Washington's staff. That whole line of "Go home, son." That's an order from your commander.
Yeah.
Hamilton quit.
Which would have fit. I mean, that still would have fit pretty well, but
yeah. So this one, I understand why Hamilton did it, because it makes the story more real and more historical fiction. Mm-hmm. Angelica was already married by the time she met Hamilton.
Yeah.
And I told you this when I was reading the book.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So it was, I understand why he did it, because the quote unquote love affair made more sense.
Yeah.
And some historians do believe that Hamilton and Angelica had an affair.
Yeah, that's actually, I mean, that's accurate in and of itself, I believe, is that relationship that they had, whatever it really was. They did write letters and correspond back and forth a good bit like that. So, yeah.
Yeah. Where Angelica said, you wrote a comma in a letter and it says, "My dearest Angelica." Actually, that was Angelica who misplaced the comma, and Hamilton teasingly called her out for it.
Yeah.
And those letters, I have found an amazing site where it has all of these historical letters. In fact, cool. I just watched the John Adams biography on HBO, and all of his letters on there are on this site.
That's cool.
It's amazing. Yeah. And somebody, if you love history, which I was a history minor, I call myself a historian. I'm kind of a closet historian because I sit here and I read and watch all these history movies, and I find that enjoyable. What nerd does that? Well, me. Yeah, it's incredible.
I mean, I'm reading a book right now about the Sedition Act. I mean, anybody want to join me in that? It's like
that's actually stuff, that is one of the things that John Adams says was one of the worst mistakes of his presidency. Mm-hmm. And he has a lot of mistakes in his presidency.
Exactly.
I hate that he's part of my family. Considering how much Hamilton wrote in real life, Hamilton wasn't all that outspoken about slavery. You can be. That's a hard one to take in, because Hamilton was anti-slavery. He was an abolitionist before abolitionists were cool. But he actually bought and sold slaves for his family.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
it's one of those, it's not, but it's one of those necessary evils of the time.
Yeah.
I hate it.
It was the engine of the economy at the time. I mean,
yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't good. It was not good. Yeah, not at all.
Yeah.
Hamilton probably did not punch the bursar.
Makes for a great rhyme, though.
It does.
Yeah.
You punch the bursar.
Yeah.
This one is debated to this day. Hamilton might not have aimed at the sky in his duel with Burr.
He didn't.
According to the accounts in the papers, both men fired in succession, but the people in attendance don't agree how long it took before the two men shot each other. Hamilton had stated in advance to others that he intended to throw away his shot. So he may have aimed wide on purpose, not fired in the air, or he may have accidentally fired when Burr shot him.
Yeah. I read something that said that there was a tree branch probably about a few feet and behind Burr. And that the trajectory, he did not shoot straight up in the air. He most likely either aimed high or wide, but he didn't.
But he was wearing his glasses.
Slowly raise his gun in the sky. No, there wasn't any of that.
No, he didn't slowly raise. He might have, but I mean, I truly believe that he is a man of his word. And reading all of the papers I've read of him, and I've read a lot of them lately.
Yeah.
He is a man of his word. I don't think that he would have gone back and said, all right, yeah, I'm going to shoot him. He was wearing his glasses even.
Yeah.
And if he was wearing his glasses, this is a double-edged sword here, because for somebody who knows him as much as Bird did,
yeah,
let's follow the lead. If Burr knows he's wearing his glasses, he's fiddling with the gun, in Burr's mind, holy crap, I got to shoot this mofo before he shoots me. You know he's a better shot than I am. Yeah. So, I mean, they served in the war together.
Well, it's just the thing about it is, you know, like the song Nonstop, you know, he was relentless and Hamilton just never did stop. But the one thing that's consistent that I think you have to check against, and I don't think there's ever really a good way to check this, is, you know, he said to Philip, you know, taking a man's life is something that you can't shake.
Right.
But he was fully willing to step into a duel and be the second and write these inflammatory letters and post about John Adams and all of the Federalist Papers. And it's like his pen was his sword. But when it came down to killing somebody, right? And it's
you
like his
stupid
pen,
mother.
his pen was his sword. But he was so relentless that would he have really thrown away his shot? There's no way to know.
I think he would, because he was very outspoken against dueling.
Yeah, but he sent his son into one. He allowed his son to go through with it. He sat there and was the second for John Lawrence.
He told him to throw a shot away.
But you sit there and I understand that this is a different culture and a different time, and we're probably looking at it through a 2020 lens. But you don't let your son step into a situation like that where he could potentially be fired at. You tell him that you tell your second to go over there and you drop it because it's the difference between Hamilton and George Washington. George Washington said, "My name's been through a lot. It can take it." Hamilton's name went through something, and he sent his son willingly into a duel and didn't tell him. Washington told Hamilton, "Don't you worry about it." Hamilton did not afford his own son the same courtesy.
This is where you and I are Hamilton and Burr, because or Hamilton and Washington, because I am go full bore. You know, I'm go off on somebody, except in social media, because you are full go off on somebody on social media. But in real life, you are talk less, smile more. But in real life, I'm Hamilton.
Yeah. So
it's so funny to see how these parallel paths cross all the time too.
Yeah. But I mean, it's he said it himself in when you were talking about when Burr and Hamilton were the seconds in Charles Lee's duel with Lawrence, and he said, you know, can we agree that duels are stupid and immature? Sure, but your man has to answer for his words, Burr. You know, right. If that was really how he felt, I can't see him throwing away his shot. But he told Philip to throw away his shot. So it's one of those things where would he have followed his own advice in the moment when someone was confronting him? We will never know.
No, we won't. Until we get to heaven, we hope.
I hope.
At that point, I don't think we'll ever even care. Gosh, I could talk about this show forever, man. This is, I mean, A couple of weeks ago, you asked me to put this in my list of favorite Broadway shows.
Mm-hmm.
I would have to say this is firmly number 3. Nothing is ever in my mind going to supplant Phantom or Les Mis. Those two are the shows that brought me into Broadway.
Sure.
But Hamilton is probably there with the best modern show ever.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Even over the Mary Poppins, even over Frozen, even over Aladdin, which
but I mean, those are rehashes of a story and songs you already knew. They are great shows, but when you walk into Hamilton, can you imagine the first few people that went to see it?
Oh gosh,
had no idea what they were wanting to expect.
Look at this set. This is such a simple set.
Yeah,
I mean, those of you in podcast land can't even see it, but it's wood. It looks like a ship, and the set itself builds with you during the show. When you first see it like this, it's a broken country. But during the show, the set becomes whole. Mm-hmm. And that's another one of those Easter eggs that didn't get talked about in the list I found. The set is a symbolism of the country, this young country that is founded by Hamilton and the founding fathers.
Yeah.
That's just blows my mind.
Well, that's where that ties in real quick before we move on. That my favorite song in there is "Dear Theodosia," and the whole idea of coming of age with a young nation when America was just an idea. They didn't even have an idea of how they were going to pull it off yet. They were just fighting for independence. They got it. Now they've got to figure it out. I think we have to look at this. I always tell my folks at work, always treat yourself like a small business, because if you're a small business, you have to be the best at what you do, or at least good enough to get people to come back, or they'll just go somewhere else. And in the business world, it's the same kind of thing. If you can't do it the best, they could outsource it to somebody or find somebody else inside the company. I think we have to take that same approach right now. To go back to the point I was making before, we got to look at this like we're a brand new country. And slavery happened, and there have been a lot of injustices but it doesn't mean that we have to dwell on that. We can learn the lessons from it and put it away in a box and take it out to remind ourselves. But it doesn't have to be an anchor point that we anchor ourselves to. It can be something that makes us better. And whether it's Kansas City policing methods or politics and presidential elections or whatever, like we said before, everybody who goes into the show gets something out of it. And I think we all need to find what we want to get out of these situations and just start moving some of this stuff forward. Act like we're coming of age with a brand new nation and just go for it. Anyway.
I agree. I have to throw this out here. Y'all said it, don't go into Les Mis, but I had to. Brad Toon, Alfie Boe as Jean Valjean in Les Mis. Behind Colin, Alfie Boe is the best person to ever play Jean Valjean. And I think
thought that was a typo.
No sirree, Bob. No sirree.
No sirree, Bob.
Alfie Boe is amazing. If you have never listened to Alfie sing, you need to do this tonight. Go to Spotify, go to iTunes, find Alfie Boe singing Jean Valjean. Oh, it'll make you cry. Look up Bring Him Home, Alfie Boe. If it doesn't make you cry, you have no soul.
You have no soul.
You have no soul. One of the best tenors to ever sing. And for me to say that, that's a big deal.
Sure.
Adam, we've been going for an hour already.
We have.
We had another topic to get into, to talk another H. Halloween Horror Nights is not happening this year.
Let's just give a quick 5 minutes.
Well, no, we had to do Virgil first.
Oh, that's right.
And it actually feeds into what we're talking about. Virgil, you did well this week. You were actually, did you know we were talking Hamilton this week?
No, I don't think you did. Or maybe I don't remember.
Because you sent us 2 questions this week, and one of them was very on par.
And here it is.
All right.
Hey guys, wanted to bring up this subject since everyone wants to talk so much about the history of our country and statues and such of people that were instrumental in forming our country and doing other things inside our country and for our country. Wanted to do a little history quiz for you. So here we go. Meriwether Lewis and William Clark led an expedition across a span of land that covered some 828,000 square miles. That expedition went from east of the Mississippi River to the Pacific Ocean. The preparation for this expedition began well before the land purchase even happened. The actual expedition took roughly 2 years. The land was purchased by the United States for a small sum of $15 million. That sum is estimated to be worth $340,346,017.70. In today's value, the land value for today's price is estimated to be at $250 billion. My question is, what land purchase was it? All right, guys, look forward to the next show. Bye.
There you go.
Do you want me to answer this because as a history minor?
I knew this is too, Dave. I mean, come on.
This is kind of unfair. 1802, the Louisiana Purchase.
Kind of unfair, because the rest of us were sleeping in history, Dave.
Most people did sleep in history.
Well, what's amazing to me always about the Louisiana Purchase is it's such a misnomer when you think about what the land actually ended up being for. Like a very small portion of it ended up being what a lot of people would think, oh, we bought like Louisiana. No, it was like up into Canada, we
bought everything.
Montana. I mean, yeah, it was incredible. For $15 million.
We bought Sacagawea.
Yeah.
And her dollar.
That's right.
Anyway. So, all right. The second topic, 5 minutes. We're not going to talk long about this. Halloween Horror Nights canceled by Universal today, or this week. What are your thoughts on this, Adam? This is where we're going to get a little bit, probably some talks. People might not like us, but with our thoughts.
I mean, I think that if you're going to have the 30th Halloween Horror Nights, that is far too big of a milestone to have it be an event that you can't pull off without it being just the biggest thing. I mean, the Tribute Store, there have been some vloggers putting up stuff about the Tribute Store opening right there next to Jimmy Fallon on that corner back there. And so they are planning on selling some kind of merchandise this year, and I'm interested to see what it actually is.
Oh, it's already open, and it's awesome looking.
Oh, is it? I haven't seen it yet. But, you can celebrate the 30th year or 30 years of that kind of thing, but the 30th event itself can't be with social distancing. It can't be with masks. It's going to have to be, hopefully all this is said and done by next year, and we can go back to some semblance of normal. I mean, I felt like there was a way they could have done something. If you have people spaced out in the houses, it actually makes it easier to scare each party individually. But then at the same time, I don't know how you make money with such limited capacity. If you can't sell it to a sold out event and you can only let in a certain number of thousands of people, that's a big event. And I don't know how they can make money off of it at the end of the day, unfortunately.
This is where I think your studying and your fact finding of the R naught comes into play.
It's my favorite stat right now.
So you have found that in Florida, everybody that is sick is getting less than one person sick right now.
Yeah, we've been at 0.98 according to the website I use the most. We've been at 0.98 for about 2 weeks now.
Yep. So if that's the case, by September, a month and a half away, or a month away. Well, they do it mid-September.
Mid-September.
So a month and a half away. I think that the R naught will be much below that. I think we'll be looking at half a person maybe. So if that's the case, and we're reaching that herd immunity that most people have been talking about, there is a place where we could have done Horror Nights and Mickey's Not So Scary and what have you. I think that them canceling this now and California canceling the Rose Parade for 2021 and all of these cancellations happening now is a lot premature.
Well, I think that part of what Universal has to think about, and you saw pictures last year when the Ghostbusters set was being created, and a lot of people were asking, oh, are these pictures of the California set or are these pictures of the Florida set? I would imagine, and this is not insider info of any kind, I would imagine that the set companies are building for both and props are being done for both. But if California, because we can't even open Disneyland yet because the governor keeps pushing out the date to when they can reopen.
Let's not get into my thoughts on the California governor.
Oh, yeah, but I'm just saying, if you can't for sure say that you're going to do a California event of any way, shape, or form, I mean, you can't even reopen the park over there. I don't see how you can start building sets for just one site, because what I think they get a lot of is economies of scale by building two sets that are similar enough where they order the lumber at the same time, the screws and the nuts and the bolts. Well, that's right, because they do overseas too.
They do Shanghai.
I think they get some economy of scale, and now you're only building for one and not California. And it's going to have to be potentially a limited capacity event. And think about it like this. You've been in the queue for the Hallmark houses, how it goes back and forth in front of the stage where they do the concerts for Mardi Gras. If you not only have to socially distance inside the house, but you also have to socially distance inside the queue, do you know how long that queue would be? I mean, you've got the Rise of the Resistance queue at Hollywood Studios using the Muppets extended queue. Yeah. Because you're having a social distance. I don't think if social distancing is still a thing in mid-September, which it will be most likely, I don't think there's a way space-wise you can pull that off. You can maybe only let 5,000 people in the park, and you just can't make money off of it. It's just not logistically possible. But I will tell you this, since you got on the topic of R-Naught, I think everybody needs to educate themselves on that, because the other side of this that a lot of people don't talk about is that the herd immunity threshold is calculated using R-Naught. And so if your R is at 1, your threshold's not 60%. It's actually a lot less. So your herd immunity threshold in epidemiology is actually calculated from what your R is. So everybody says 60%, but if it's not that infectious, it's actually lower. So I agree with you. There is a window starting to open where this could happen. And I'm starting to not put my tinfoil hat on, but I'm starting to believe that they're seeing that this is changing, but they can't tell the American people, because if they told us this was starting to fizzle out, we would go hog wild and it would come right back, because it's still really infectious, but most of the people don't have symptoms and it's starting to tail off a little bit. But if they told us all this was ending, we would just go out and about and we'd do everything, and then it would go back up again, and we can't be trusted. We've proven that.
Right.
We can't be trusted.
Vance Cope has two good thoughts. And I borrowed Vance Cope's for something I told you.
Sure.
It's a bummer. Really thought it might happen if they got the app to work right. Personally, Vance thinks number 31 should be the big anniversary, since Halloween is on the 31st. I agree with Vance.
Sure.
He also says, since the houses are built, most are already ready to go. They should open the non-IP ones and should charge an extra fee to the guests during the day.
Well, you know, and we said that last year. Universal Monsters was last year, right? Yeah. That wouldn't this be a great daytime scare if you left this open all the time? You know?
Yeah.
And they actually did that with Stranger Things. They left it open during the day. The first year they did Stranger Things, they left it open and let day guests do it for free. So I mean, they did. The thing is, they did the permitting and they did the inspections for a lot of the tent houses, and the tent houses are usually non-IP. So you never know.
Let them open it up.
I don't have a problem.
Because there has been, I can't find it. It's probably going to be hard to find, but there was going to be a Beetlejuice house.
Yeah.
There was going to be a Gremlins house. This was my year.
Yeah.
This was the year that I was looking forward to. Last year was Ghostbusters. Adam saw how giddy I was during Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't even scared. I was laughing the whole time. you know, right there when Slimer popped out at me, I turned around, hi, just because I was so amazed at it.
Yep.
I just let it happen, y'all. I mean, the houses are set up. They're there.
Yeah.
They've asked for people for auditions for characters. You saw the posting.
Yeah, I saw the posting for attendance. I didn't see a posting for characters, which makes me wonder, could they open up a house with only physical effects and not characters? Because I only saw postings for attendance.
It won't be Horror Nights, but it could be if you go during Halloween time at Universal.
Sure. Well, imagine if you're the only place in Orlando that has any Halloween themed anything going on.
Especially because there's no Not So Scary.
I mean, I don't think that's a far-fetched idea.
Something to take to your superiors, Adam. Anyway.
All right. Sure, I'll get IT right on bringing Mickey's Not So Scary back.
I mean, you know people that know people.
I do. I know lots of people that know a lot of people.
I mean, yeah. Anyway, Brad Toon says Ghostbusters was amazing. It was. You felt like you were walking through the movie.
Yep.
I now need Ghostbusters 2.
Oh, yeah. We got to have Vigo.
Give me Secret of the Ooze.
I need a hopping. No, that was the Ninja Turtles second movie.
Yeah, you're right. But it was that ooze.
It was the pink slime. Yes, it was.
Yeah, the pink slime.
I need a hopping toaster and I need a walking Statue of Liberty now.
Oh, could you imagine that?
Yeah.
Like that scare. The Statue of Liberty is a character and standing there, and then all of a sudden she comes down at you.
Or if you come around the corner and you have a big Statue of Liberty and there's 4 characters up there dressed like Ghostbusters who are like, I love this city, and whatever they were screaming.
Yeah. That would be awesome.
It'd be good.
All right. As much as I want to continue talking about this, we've been going for a long time. We need to close up tonight.
Yeah.
Guys, we love y'all. We love the fact that you spend time with us. We've got our normals on Facebook Live, and they stayed the entire time. This is awesome. Brad, Vance, Kathy, Virgil, Carly, all of these people that have come on and talked with us. Chrissy's come on here and talked. Thank y'all. Y'all could have done anything tonight.
You could have been anywhere in the world tonight.
But you're right here. The cabinet battle. Number 1. You might even stay for cabinet battle number 2. Maybe. But guys, we thank y'all so much. This is awesome. I couldn't thank y'all enough. Guys, if you want to follow us on Facebook, just find Unrelated at Birth. If you want to join into all this stupidity, join the Unrelated at Birth listener group. Honestly, the last 2 weeks we have been more active in the listener group just because I found all these funny memes when I'm supposed to be working, and I say squirrel, then I post it in the group. When I'm wearing my flip-flops on a construction site, apparently.
Okay, Aaron Brown, calm down.
No, I'm Alexander Hamilton.
Oh, Alexander Hamilton. Sorry, my bad.
Come on, man.
Hey, remember who survives in the end, dude. Come on.
Yeah, but who shoots who? Who's the villain of the story?
I'm the villain in your history.
To quote the show, and I'm the bastard who shot him.
That's not what he says.
I know, but I cleaned it up a little bit.
Thank you. Okay.
Anyway, follow us on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram. Unrelated at Birth. I'm D Adams 419. He is Run Tide Run. On Twitter, mine and Adam are the exact same. On Twitter, the show is Not Related Bros. If you feel like so led, on Patreon, we are www.patreon.com/unrelated at birth. You can find us on the blog. It's all in this little under scroll here. If you're watching on Facebook or on YouTube, unrelatedbirth.com. We need to work on that blog, Adam. I did the last post. It's your turn.
All right. I say it every week. Yeah, I'll get around on that, Rose.
Yeah, Rose. Guys, thank y'all. I say it every week, and it's so cliche, but thank y'all. I'm going to do something here. We did this on Top of the World. I don't know if we can do this here, but I'm going to try. I'm going to say the next 5 comments we get on iTunes. We need to have 5-star comments on iTunes. Right now, we've got a few. I want 5-star comments, and not just give us 5 stars. I want comments on the iTunes podcast app. I think we'll give away something, be it an unrelated at birth t-shirt, a $15, $20 Disney gift card, something. We will do a little giveaway. The 5 people. No, Adam, it can't be you or I.
What's going on right now? Really? Oh, so I'm not eligible.
You're part of the show.
Fine, I won't leave a review then. Fine.
Well, have you not left a review yet?
No.
Does yours say Adam in your?
That's cheating.
Oh yeah, it is true. We'll think of something to do, but let's say the next 5 people. We'll put your name in a hat. You got a 20% chance of winning. You like my math I just did there? That's a 5th grade math.
That's good, yeah.
So you got a 20% chance of winning. 5 people that leave a comment on Facebook. If you've already left a comment, you're not eligible. But 5 new comments with 5-star ratings. We'll put your name in a hat. We'll do it live on the show. And then whoever wins, we'll get you a little prize.
We'll pull your name from the Goblet of Fire. Do you have a goblet, like a miniature Goblet of Fire we could use?
That would be a couple. Yeah. Not a fire. It won't be on fire and it can't spit out.
How did your name become a Goblet of Fire?
No.
Dumbledore screaming at you.
Yeah, no. But 5 people, 5-star reviews with comments. We'll go from there. Brad Toon says you can always vote for yourself, Adam, but just once.
Depends, are we using mail-in ballots or not?
No. So anyway, there's our next thing. So after we get 5 new reviews on the iPod app, it doesn't matter if it's the next show or the next show or the next show, we will do the drawing from a hat. That
so whenever we get 5.
Yep, probably the hat on my head.
You actually take it off, though?
No, I've got other hats.
Take it off on camera?
I mean,
it's like that time Pet Sajak took off his hair.
I can't do that. Yeah, I can't do that. But anyway, guys, we love you. We say it every week. We do truly mean it. And Adam, take them home.
Yeah, guys, we do love you, but not as much as Jesus does. Stay safe out there and be kind to each other. And wash your hands. You don't have to stay at home, but just be safe. And we'll catch you next week, guys. Bye.
You don't have the votes. You don't have the votes.